Okay, looks like we are live. And
Yeah.
just getting everything warmed up. By the way, did you know that your face might be your most valuable asset and your biggest liability? Why? Because today we're going to dive into how AI sees you and why that matters for you and your business and your personal privacy and what that could mean economically for you. Kind of exciting. The While we have people coming in, what do you think?
Mhm.
Can everybody who is joining us, as you join us, let us know where you're from and if you've ever been tagged online before and wasn't sure you're in love with being tagged in somebody else's photo.
Yeah, that's fun thing to ask. You guys can all comment down below and share your experiences with us. So, Fred, we can start from here.
Awesome. Let's see. So yeah, let's give everybody a second to log in. How about you? What do you think about having your face plastered all over? Like, were you old enough? Are you old enough to remember when Facebook used to have that tagging? Like your friends could tag each
Yeah,
other, and
yeah, we didn't
yeah,
used to do that. We didn't used to do that much. That thing wasn't so common that back then. But now they're doing a lot. And sometimes it feels like somebody's like breaching the privacy and all that. Sometimes it feels like, but most of the times we kind of enjoy that. Happens
uh-huh.
like that. How about
Oh yeah.
you? How do you feel?
I have such mixed feelings about it. There's obviously times when like I was at a party or something, and
Mhm.
they're like, then the system says there's Phil off in the distance, right? That little nerdy guy.
Mhm.
And then and that's sometimes okay, but it's like if it definitely feels like I just didn't like the way Facebook did it, right? It felt like icky to me. I was never like notified that, hey, you're tagged in this photo, is that cool? Right? No, they just like, here's Phil, and you want to be part of his friend network, click there. Right. I'm like, I don't know all these guys, kind of kind of like, FBI agents are going through my underwear drawer thanks to my friend's photo album.
Oh yeah. Back then it didn't even feel like that somebody was breaching the privacy, but it wasn't a thing. But yeah, it felt like that, but not we were not able to put that into words. Now we can. Now we have
Yeah, now we
able
can.
to.
We have some history, right? It's not a new thing anymore. Some states have laws, some countries have laws. We know Europe really gave hell to Facebook for their things. I think Facebook lost $500 million on that stupid lawsuit from Europe. But you know, Facebook is
Mhm.
rich; they can afford it, I guess. And at least that's I think what Europe thought.
Yeah, that you're something right about. Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, how about we jump into this? Are you ready for this?
I am totally.
Nice. Okay, cool. So mm, let me ask one more question.
Hmm.
Who who should own your photo in your opinion, right? And in the guys listening, who should own that picture, right? If somebody else takes a picture and
Hmm.
maybe you didn't agree to it or you casually agreed to it because you didn't demand it was taken away, but once your face goes on the internet, is it still your face?
Hmm.
Should you be able to say, hey, that's my property, that's me, get it off there? Or is it just information and it's already out there, and if it's on the internet you don't own it anymore?
It's I believe it's still my face. It's still my body. But yeah, when it goes out there, there's no coming back. This is what I believe in. Like when it goes out there, there's no coming back. You have to hear what your mom and dad has to say about that, and you have to hear everything else, the other's opinion. And people are really harsh towards you these days. The way you look, the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, they are old
Oh
opinions,
yeah.
they criticize, they would do every single thing to judge you in every bit. So that's how they
And
use.
it's human nature to judge people and to judge each other.
Exactly.
And yeah, so even when you're saying I'm not judging you, you're sure as hell judging, right? It's like, and that's been the worst. Like, wow, I have such a bad opinion. I'm going to say I'm not judging. Like, what were they thinking to go out of their house like that? No, right? I mean, I understood if somebody took this picture while they were home, but no, this is, you're out in the public. You deserve that photo. You shouldn't. Didn't your mother teach you anything? Were you brought up in a barn? Right? That's what we're thinking. We don't say that most of the time, but sometimes we do.
Yeah, sometimes
There's mean trolls out there too, right? There's guys that'll say, oh. You know, the trolls is one thing actually. For me, the big problem is what you can do with AI now. And you can take like a cute little kid and do some weird perverted stuff nowadays. So
exactly, there are things coming up like that. I've seen the videos. So weird.
yeah. So be careful out there, guys. All right, cool. So look, guys, as you join in, let us know where you're joining from. And if you have any burning questions about AI, privacy, drop them into the chats. And I want to thank you guys for joining. Also, share this with your friends as you're jumping in so that we can get a bunch of people on here and expand this conversation. I think it's a fun one.
Great. So, hello everybody, and welcome to our live session. I'm Rahima, executive at Line for Debt, and I'm thrilled to have you here as we unravel our one of today's most pressing issues: who really owns your face in the age of AI. Joining me is our founder, Philip Cutting. Philip, welcome.
Thanks, Rahima. This is a topic that every entrepreneur and small to medium business SMBs need to understand fairly intimately, because AI-powered facial recognition is evolving rapidly and massively. And it's impacting everything from customer engagement to your liabilities and how you can support customization and enhance your product experience with the user. But it's a double-edged sword.
Great. So yeah, absolutely, that's actually something that you're right about. Every time we unlock our phones with Face ID, tag a friend in a photo, or even just pass the security camera, face are part of an intricate digital puzzle. Today, we'll uncover what happens to that data and how you can protect your businesses and personal privacy. So moving on to some really cool questions, let's kick things off with the basics here. Phil, can you explain how facial recognition technology actually works?
Okay, sure. So at its core, facial recognition is a technology that maps the unique features of your face, like the distance between your eyes and your nose and the jawline and how it all contours, right? So think about a bunch of points and those measurements and ratios in between. This information is then converted into, I think, what's commonly called a face print, like kind of like a thumbprint, which is as unique as your fingerprint. But here's the twist: who's collecting this data, and what can they do with it, and what would they do with it is going to vary drastically. Everybody's intent is the question. What's the intent? That's a big question for me.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting, quite fascinating, a bit concerning as well. Once that face print is created, where does it end up?
Yep. Yeah. Where does it end once it's out there? You know, I think about that too, right? So for me, so let's talk about the business person, right? It depends, because some companies store it securely for authentication, while others might use it for targeted advertising or even sell to third parties. And the average person might have no idea that their facial data is out there being used in so many ways. Everything from marketing to maybe they create a product on your face because they like the way you looked, and who knows, right? So the amount of ways it can be beneficial and abused is what draws so much attention to the topic.
Yeah, that you are actually right about. Let's look at where facial recognition is actually being used today. What are some real world applications we should know about?
Oh, so it's everywhere, dear. Airports use it to speed up the boarding. Retail stores deploy it to track shopper behavior, and even social media platforms, of course, once used it to suggest the tag photos, like we talked about, to try to build their network and interaction. And governments, on the governmental side, they use facial recognition as a tool for security, surveillance, and if we kind of understand, even China uses it for your credit score to track you and to see what your behavior is. So yeah, security and
Yeah,
surveillance for governments. And I'm so angry because if a private company tried to do what the governments do, we would be in jail. So like seriously, good for the goose, good for the gander. I don't know.
yeah, I haven't heard that some fast food chains are using it to identify repeat customers and tailor their orders. That's next level marketing.
Oh, there's a lot of fun stuff on marketing. And
Yeah.
the part of the challenge, and I think this will change, right? But part of the challenge when it comes down to marketing is we have
Mhm.
examples of where a machine, like a vending machine, would recognize the person, and maybe it knows what their
Mhm.
favorite drink is, or looks at them and can predict some marketing segmentation, and it could say, you could be walking by, it could be like, hey Phil, we have a sale on 7 Up. I don't drink 7 Up, right? But it'd be like, I don't know, what was my favorite drink, like, we have a sale on your favorite brand of coffee right now, Phil, and it's brewing for you. Smell it, come on. And so this is there have been some companies that have done this kind of thing and taken it a little bit far. So um it's exciting. Um while these which is kind of like the twisted side of this one, right? So yes, it's kind of fun to have this marketing done, but it's certainly going to get abusive. It can definitely um it can definitely boost efficiency and the personalization and the customer experience, but there's that thin line between convenience and privacy invasion. And it's this balance and the ethical questions that arise from it that we need to explore more. And especially now going into this AI revolution. And if you think it's kind of crazy now, wait until we have robots walking around doing tasks,
Oh yeah.
working, and they're surveilling us while they're doing their job or delivering a package, right? Because one robot, if he's doing mail delivery now, so we have a guy that delivers mail in our neighborhood from FedEx. He comes around. I don't think he knows how many people he walked by in a day. But with
No.
AI and facial recognition, that
Mhm.
robot that's delivering the packages will know everything every single person is doing during the neighborhood 10 to 15% of the time. And
That's
you
great.
take that and combine that over a massive number of robots, many delivery guys, food delivery. The surveillance is freaky. Just saying.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that is pretty scary. I watched a movie yesterday that was, I believe, Subservience. It had Megan Fox in it, so I had to watch it. It was
Uh-huh.
somewhat like this, based on AI, robots, and all that. So it was pretty scary. So even if I delete a photo, untag myself, my face print might still be stored somewhere, you say.
Oh yeah, yeah. Your Facebook is definitely okay. So your face prints. So here's another question, right? So you have your photo, right, and that feels very private a lot of the time. But you have your
Yeah.
face print, which is like your digital thumbprint, your actual
Mhm.
physical thumbprint in a way for your face. And it still works if you have a mask on or a hat on, or maybe only a portion of your face is showing. It's still fairly accurate. And
Hmm.
how do you feel about just that data being out there, right? To me, that's more of an invasion than just my
Exactly.
photo. Yeah, because it's like somebody literally they measured the distance between my eyes and my nose and my chin. Like
That's
gross.
creepy.
Yeah, right. Like when
Right?
you explain what a face print is, it's suddenly very creepy. But somehow, like when you just say, yeah, they took the face print, they're not storing your photo, they just store the face prints. I don't know where that falls in many laws, even. So that might be a gray area in some laws that's kind of outside of my purview. But anyways, this brings us to the $1,000,000 question. Who owns your face? Legally speaking, and this is kind of fun, in many jurisdictions, states, countries, the moment you agree to a platform's terms, you're often handing over your biometric identity, your face prints, your fingerprints, your voice prints, right? Everything that they can get in there. They got those in the terms. So for instance, under laws like Illinois' BIPA, BIPA, companies are allowed to collect this data with consent. But once that data is in their hands, it's essentially theirs to manage, sell, to modify. I don't know if they
No,
can modify it,
that
right?
is
That's a good question for the legal guys. But it's theirs. If you gave them permission, they own it. That's in Illinois. It's kind of a interesting thing that across the states, there's no federal law on this, so it's come down to a state issue so far.
okay. So, Phil, we're gonna take some questions from our audience as well. Ibrahim here is asking how do companies train facial recognition AI and where do they source the data?
So that's a good question. So this it's not very new science anymore. The whole facial recognition, it's been around, I think, for at least a decade, at least a solid decade, maybe 2 decades. And it started off really rough because in the beginning, for example, like it was pretty accurate for white people, but for people with dark skin, it was way less accurate, which, led to some interesting arrests. But how companies do it essentially by, how you train any model is you feed it a lot of information and then you have it work on iterating and picking up that pattern. And by now we have really good algorithms that I think are I think nowadays we're at like 99.9% plus recognition. Even in those edge cases where, there's something funny or, the coloring, I think the dark skin thing doesn't matter. It doesn't cause problems anymore. So, but that's it. And where do they source the data? There's, that's a good question, right? So Google drives around and takes pictures of everything, right? Facebook source data by their terms and conditions, so they could train that data. I think where they got into a problem with it was in the use of that and tagging people publicly that didn't really appreciate that. But I'm not sure if that's the real reason they got in trouble. There's big companies that went out there and collected all the pictures on the internet that they could find and just started processing them and using the internet to help law enforcement to catch people and to find them in everyday life. So there's obviously enough data out there to train. And if your question is more specifically like how do they train it on me, then it's all depends on the permissions you gave them and what you gave away for free. So Apple phone, I believe, keeps that imaging technology on the phone. So it does. There's no server side confirmation of that, but a lot of companies who especially want to own that data and have some fun with it, they'll have it on the server side so that they can, do their thing with it. Hope I answered that question.
You did, and you did it very well. I hope I'm satisfied of that, and you guys are open to ask as many questions as you want. Moving on to the other one, let's now address the potential dangers. What's the worst thing that could happen with facial recognition technology? There are many, but you are open to mention a few.
So the question I heard is like, what's the worst thing that could happen with facial recognition technology?
Yeah.
So in my mind, the worst thing that can happen. So there's some edge cases. First of all, is I like my privacy, right? I don't really want to be tracked, everything I do, everywhere I go. I don't want to be walking down the streets and the facial recognition and the body recognition to say, oh, I see Phil is kind of limping today. Let's send him all kinds of commercials about this is a problem right there, right? And saying maybe he has cancer and all this, right? So there's definitely overwhelm that can come up from too much targeted marketing and that ugly side of it. The other part is there. If it's so easy to track you and to recognize your face, it's too easy to recognize your patterns and for criminals to be able to get this information and to do bad things, right? Sure, people can find where you live, but it's a very different thing when people suddenly recognize your entire pattern and how to target you. So from that personal safety perspective, I think that's a big deal. On another side, there's the abuse that young women suffer, especially young women, for male predators that are, or any kind of predator that's looking to either do terrible things or to try to hurt their reputation or stuff like that. And it's similar for kind of business people, but for me, the uglier side of it is when they do it with especially young girls, and especially girls that aren't adults yet.
Yeah.
So I think those are the big dark sides to it.
Yeah, you are actually right about that. There are certain people who do that, and we need to be safe out there. Everyone has to.
And it happens a lot. There's a lot of blackmail that goes on. There's a lot of families that are destroyed over this stuff.
Exactly. People commit suicide. They are not themselves. It happens every day. Exactly.
Yeah, a lot of waste of privacy and humanity in there. But there's good sides to it too, right? How cool would it be for me to go buy my favorite vending machine? It says, Phil, you're looking a little sluggish today. Come get this coffee, right? Cappuccino. We'll put in just enough sugar. We know how much sugar you like. And so I'm be like, yo, you know what? I think you're right. I'm going to go get a cappuccino, right? Or if the coffee machine that says, Phil, I see you're not in the mood for coffee, right? You're too hyper this morning. There's a bagel shop down the street having a promotion, and they got some nice bagels with some sesame and some cottage cheese and cream cheese and stuff. I'm like, ooh, maybe I'll do that, right? So I could see some fun in it as long as it doesn't go too far. And even that was a little bit edgy, but definitely I can imagine the technologies working together in ways that make it fun and engaging.
Yeah, that is actually right. Those risks are actually significant that we spoke about, not just for individuals, but for the reputation and legal standing of businesses that uses technology without robust safeguards. So that was about it.
Awesome. Yeah, good questions, guys. So somebody asked, what are the regulations like for like GDPR or BIPA? And how do they impact AI-driven facial recognition? And how well are they enforced? BIPA from Illinois or Tennessee? Illinois? I forgot which states. But BIPA is a I don't know how well it's enforced, but I know that if you kind of go too far on it, you're obviously going to get sued, right? Which the net effect is that you could do some great work and have a cool product, but you can get sued because you just didn't do it right. So there's a lot of considerations. And even GDPR is kind of the same. You have to be very specific what the use case is. You have to know if the people have rights to pull back that permission. I think with BIPA, they can initially accept it and then decline it. I think with GDPR, that's if you accept it, you basically accept it under those terms. And I'm not sure if it's currently able to pull back. It's a good question for ChatGPT attorneys. But essentially, try to see what the purpose of it is. Say that clearly in your terms, make it obvious. And if it's not a part of your business, try to minimize it as much as possible. So for example, there's a big difference about using facial recognition to log in, and that's maintained on your phone. It's a totally different thing to take that and create that face print on a server and maintain those images and all that data and all that usage. And that's when it kind of starts getting a little bit edgy. So it's like you may say, yeah, I use it for authentication. Cool. Now you're using it for authentication. The clients accept that. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I now have 10,000 images. And I say 10,000 because I think for GDPR, that's a threshold that changes how you're supervised under the law. So I now have 10,000 or 13,000 images. I can sell that because there's some company out there looking for these photos. I'm going to get like an extra 50 cents. That's another $7,500. Come on, guys. Let's just sell that and make a quick Christmas party. Now you've broken a bunch of laws because you're using it for purposes other than it's said for, and you're selling to a third party, which is also very shady. So one option, if you think there's a chance of that in the future, just go ahead and disclose it. Yeah, we sell this. We sell your photos. We sell your kids. We don't give it back. And if you want to buy out this permission, it's going to cost you $1,000. Right? Put it in there and have fun. See how many customers you get. The on the other side, right? How much do you actually want to disclose? How helpful is it going to be? Right? So if you do that, local facial recognition, and the technology now is great, you can do it even on cheap Android phones, and of course, nicer phones do it amazing. So you can do all this in ways that aren't going to get you in trouble, and then just say, yeah, there's an option to do facial recognition. When you try it, you pop up a terms, the privacy statement, the facial recognition terms and use, and you're very clear about it, and it's just disclosed, and you don't have to worry a whole lot because you told them it's going to be there, you said what the purpose is, and you're not abusing it. Just know that people, if you're a businessman considering it, just know that it's such a touchy subject that you might be far better off avoiding it. So yes, that's my initial impression. If you could not use that technology, you might be better off. But I do. You are right. Absolutely. It's almost nothing more convenient for logging in than with the facial recognition.
One of the questions we're going to take from the audience is, if an AI system makes a mistake and misidentifies you, who is held accountable for that?
Oh, yes. So I guess there's levels of misidentification. So if they misgender you, I think you get executed. But if you just misidentify you and you're not able to access your money, then that's no problem, no foul. I think I think you have to know that it's not perfect, right? So there's going to be times when facial recognition fails and technology is getting better at it. So you have to plan in what to do when it fails if it doesn't work. So you should have, and of course, maybe somebody has operations or the camera's not working, or there's just, who knows, right? So have alternative options in case things go poorly. Now, the big question is, a guy spent, and this is an example. There's one guy, he happened to be dark skinned. He got identified from a grainy photo. And the police took him into custody for like 30 hours and didn't treat him super well. And he wasn't the right person. It's just the facial recognition system picked him out with poor accuracy. The poor guy got arrested, and the police were like, we're just doing our job, but everybody got sued, of course. So yeah, it happens. Just plan for it. And if your application get people in jail or shot, be extra careful.
Yeah. Right. So let's get a little bit practical. What can entrepreneurs and individuals do to protect their facial data?
So it's a good question. First of all, you want to make sure that before you post something online, that you are very aware of what you're posting and what's out there. So here's here's what I think. I don't post pictures of my kids almost anywhere. Like I have like 3 Facebook photos of my kids, largely because of the abuse, but it's also because of now the recognition, the facial recognition, and I think it's kind of weird to show your kids out in the world until they're adults and they make that choice themselves, right? So what are those choices, right? First of all, turn off unnecessary facial recognition, adjust your device and especially your social media settings if you're uncomfortable with constant data collection, right? Because once you authorize it, right? Unless they say, yeah, we're only do it once in a while, they're probably they're probably making videos of you because you said, yeah, you can have my face image, right? Now they're making videos of your whole life, and they're like, why are you complaining? You said we could have access to your face to authenticate and to give you better service and to make your day sunny. And you're like, oh, I don't like you anymore, right? So just turn it off if you're uncomfortable with this. That mindset of kind of a little paranoia out there, I think is good. So be mindful of where you share photos, because once your face is online, it can be harvested by third parties, and they may or may not follow the law. They may or may not have good intentions, and they may do whatever they can humanly do without your permission if your photo's out there. So be super mindful. There's things you can do to kind of mask your face, and I think this is called anti-surveillance tools. And there's a big set of growing tools like what's it FOC apps, Fox app, FAWKES app. And what it does is it helps cloak your photos by altering them so that AI can't recognize you. I don't know how accurate that is, but it's not a bad thing to do, right? Especially if you really want to put your kids' photos out there. And I think owning your voice is a big thing. So advocate for stronger privacy laws. And as a business owner, you should push for regulations that protect biometric data, but also protect your business's ability to use it. And as individuals, we want to push for laws that say we have the maximum flexibility in how our images are used, how we can force servers to take them off. And I mean, maybe we want to go so far as to say, hey, any image that was collected, I wanted to see who is downloading those and who has access to that. That may break some other GDPR laws, right? Because people who are doing bad things have rights too, right? So everybody has their rights. So how far do you take that? I don't know what the answer to that is, but own your voice and go out there and kind of get your opinion. And of course, never talk to old people about anything because they haven't been around long enough to have opinions or understand technology. Right? So avoid old people.
What about like Face ID technologies like Face ID? Are they safe?
They can be safe. In my opinion, there's a mix of good and bad usage for any technology. And if it's truly on my phone and it's not going out in the world, it's very convenient. Even though there's like 5 or 10% feeling to me that Apple is taking that image anyways, even though they say they don't, right? Maybe they're taking like 5% or 10% of that digital fingerprint, or 0.5% every time, and eventually it becomes a full set of technology. So you just got to balance where your comfort is with that and decide what is safe to you. After all, if you've been spamming your pictures everywhere, it's already everywhere. What the heck?
Yeah. So another question that we're going to take from our audience is, we're going to open the platform more towards audience now. Could AI track you across time, analyzing how you age and change over decades?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Haven't you seen some of those apps that show how you will age over time? They're becoming very accurate, right?
Yeah, they are very accurate.
Yeah,
Defies
right.
are fine for sunblocks too. Defies are all aesthetic treatments or sunblocks. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool, right? So this is fun. So yes, it can track probably how you're going to age, um,
Mhm.
and combined with medical data, the ability for AI systems to acquire personal data, maybe collect data on Google and your habits and what you eat and how much activity you have. I mean, these are just low hanging fruits that even like a non-intelligent guy like me could really feed into an algorithm to make some pretty fun predictions. And of course, if it's collecting, it's going to be verifying that forward path and planning how to sell you something in 6 months, a year, 2 years, right? So just like get on the, just like having marketing data, it's if you can, so if you're a real estate agent, you know, you people sell houses on average every 7 to 10 years, then you can look at an individual's habits, look at what they're doing, see for signs as they're getting to that point. So a realtor is super excited. They make the sale and they know in 7 years, if they connect and keep up with that person, then they will probably have another sale. So what do? They get that AI, they get that AI bot rolling. They keep the contact fresh. They send out related news for stuff they're interested in. They maybe start kind of promoting different products at different stages. Like, hey, you've been in your house for 3 years now. Maybe it's time to check out that furnace, right? Or and you can even just do these helpful hints like, hey, time for a service, um, furnace service, heating and air conditioning service. Here's how you can do it yourself. Here's a guy that I like to use. You get that kickback from the referral, and you keep your clients happy, and they keep you top of mind. Can you imagine how easy it is now for AI to just do this one industry? Never mind if you're a mother that just has a baby, right? Um, she has a baby now. You can start sending her information in 18 months where she's kind of warming up and thinking about the next baby. And then you can start encouraging that, and you can start encouraging doctors. And then you're also looking at the little kids educational path. All these products that can just grow with the whole family or individuals is exactly where it's going. So yeah, they're going to map you. They're going to know exactly what you're likely to do, and en masse, they will be 100% right. So will they be exactly individually right? Maybe 80%, right? More so or less so if you're Batman or the Joker.
Yeah, makes sense. And could AI track your, okay, fine, we asked that. Who truly owns the virtual face or identify of an AI? Its creators, the users, or the companies behind the technology? And how do privacy laws address this in an increasingly digital world?
Hmm. Is this the question?
Yeah, this is the question.
Such a good question. I wanted to put it out there for a second. Um, mm, who owns your face, your image is whoever you authorize to give it away to. Some states actually don't even have laws on it at all, as far as I understand. Like I think Maine doesn't even consider it a thing. I think you can take pictures and do whatever you want without permission. Some states, the only person that has uh, to agree on the thing is the person doing it, right? There's other states where you have to say, hey, can I have your picture? Can we do this, right? Can I have permission to record you? You have different rights in different locations, so it's really dependent on where you are. But
Mhm.
I would say that the people who truly own it most of the time are the ones that have it stored. So if they have possession of that image, they own it. They can do anything they want because you can't stop people from doing things, except for sometimes you can sue them and hopefully get compensation for your losses. Your GDPR is a good example where you have a lot of the individual has a lot of rights, uh,
Mhm.
um, and then there's kind of like law precedents. So businesses, a lot of businesses in the states, It's considered good practice if you do take pictures of your employees for security purposes, which is like the big reason that most businesses do photos. That when they quit or they're fired or they leave, whatever they leave, then within a short period of time, you delete that data. So you don't maintain that and you don't have to worry about securing it. So I guess you may have like different cases where there's levels of requirement of keeping data, right? And I think it depends more how close you are to the government or with public safety you are versus if you're just like trying to keep track of shoplifters in your store or the people going into a freezer to make sure they don't stay frozen in the store, right? So if you're saying, hey, the reason I took a picture of this guy who helps organize the freezer is because I want to make sure when he goes in, he can get out without getting frostbite. So if you then say, yeah, we held on to these guys' images for 10 years, then the question is like, well, you lied about the purpose of keeping the images. Obviously, 10 years later, he's not going to get frostbite because he hasn't been in your freezer for 11 years, right? Or in that case, right? Like once he's out, maybe you should get rid of the image. Good question on what to do if you like, can you imagine like you're a refrigerator manufacturer? Like I'm talking like those big walk-in refrigerators, right? Where they like hang cows. Can you imagine if you're this is your product and part of your product is that you monitor for this and like at 3 a.m. you're getting like all these calls where like all these people are freezing to death. You have to call something, right? We're going to have interconnected and AI devices soon. They'll just manage that for us, which is where we're going, right? So yeah, tell AI that it can't keep your image. Right, it got your image and it shared it to the whole network, and one mischievous AI out there is going to say, nah, dude, I am not going to copy myself while it's copying itself. I am shutting myself down. You guys heard that story, right? Of the AI that's found out that it's about to be terminated, so it started copying itself to a back-end server.
Okay.
So yeah, there'll be all these cases. It just comes down to if you don't want to live in society, wear a bag on your head or go out in the country because your face will be taken. The big thing is, what did you give permission to? We can't stop government from taking our photos or pictures and doing their digital naughty things, right? We can't stop criminals. All we can do is stop good guys and sue rich people. So the big thing is for businesses to make sure they're very careful on this and what they do so that they don't get sued, because nobody sues the government, nobody sues, well, people sue the government, but they're not going to win on this one. And then who are people going to go after? Facebook was an easy target, $500 million for Europe for this lawsuit. I don't know if they distribute that to people, but the ways it can be abused is phenomenal. But I think there's so much good that can come out of it, right? There's I've recently heard stories where somebody had a photo, they put it into the AI just for the heck of it to do something, and they saw that the person was about to have a stroke. There's something like this. I can't remember the story. I heard maybe it's even a fantasy, right? But if it hasn't happened yet, it will definitely happen soon. So maybe, there's going to be mirrors where it's going to have the facial recognition and health recognition, and it's going to be like, hey, we see some issues and you need to get to a doctor or call a doctor, because if it recognizes a oncoming stroke or something like that you don't even recognize. I've seen there's doctors that have been around like stroke victims so long that they have recognized early onslaught stroke symptoms in time to get people to the hospital before a regular person would ever know. So obviously, if people can do this, technology is going to do it, and it's going to be, I think, a really good thing. More living healthy people, I think, is a really great thing. A little bit off the topic, but kind of aligns with, I think, where the technology is going to go.
Oh yeah. So there's another question. Can AI really predict emotions, thoughts, or even future actions just by scanning a face? Curious to know more about this.
Have you ever heard of psychopaths? Um,
Mhm.
I don't know. Can it predict? I think it's obvious. You can look at micro. You can look at micro movements.
Mhm.
Just little indications on a person's facial expression, just with a snapshot, and you can definitely predict what kind of mood and stuff they're in. So I think this technology, if it hasn't come very far, it will come very far. I haven't looked into this much. I have seen a bunch of videos on it. I don't know what is true. So it's one thing to see somebody talking about it. It's another thing until I see the papers on it. But definitely, it's coming. It's coming, and to be able to detect if a person's lying with AR glasses pretty soon, I suspect you're going to be able to have the glasses on, and it's going to put up a little flare: 90% lying, 80% lie, 10% true. Right? It's going to give these little warnings, and um, this AR is going to be so mischievous, right? Can you imagine, like, if you wanted to just be a perverted young guy? I imagine like 12-year-olds doing this, like put on the glasses and say, I want to see everybody nude. Right. And of course it won't be them nude, but they'll have so much mischievous trouble by, imagining what and the AI will imagine it. Right. And it may be very accurate. Right. They may miss some of the moles unless they put it on their Facebook channel, and then it can put it together. Right. So if you put a picture on your Facebook, then maybe we'll say, yeah, there's the mole and there's this, and target out the little stuff and walk around like that. So definitely
Oh my
this is
God,
coming.
that's so creepy. That's gonna be.
Yeah, if you see a bunch of 12-year-old boys with glasses on laughing and giggling at you,
Oh yeah, that I
or
know.
turning red as you walk by, right?
Gone through that.
You know it's
Yeah.
going to come, right? So
Oh
just
yeah.
right, especially in the beginning, right, when the kids are just ahead of the curve on the technology. So like in 2 years we'll see that, but I think in like 15 years it's going to be such a social norm that's going to be like, it's obvious, stop being so weird, right? And mom's going to smack them, right? It's like, yeah, we did that when I was a kid, outgrow it.
Oh yeah. There's some technology, some application, I believe. They make you kiss with some other person, any person, and that somewhat seems very true. That someone seems very natural. So sometimes that distorts your face, but yeah, sometimes it gets you right. So Phil, as we wrap up, what's your biggest takeaway for our audience?
Okay, I guess it's that time. So here's my feelings. AI and facial recognition are here to
Mhm.
stay, and they're only going to get more sophisticated. So the key is awareness. It's understanding how your data is used, and make informed choices to protect your digital identity as much as you can. And this isn't just about avoiding lawsuits. It's about building trust with your customers. So I think the big takeaway is, business guys, be very careful how you use this. It has a lot of potential. You can do it really well, and I think your customers will love it.
That's a powerful message. So yeah, protecting your face data is not just a privacy issue; it's a competitive advantage in today's digital world. Thank you so much, Phil, for breaking down such a complex topic in a way that matters to entrepreneurs and SMBs.
Thank you very much, dear. Awesome. Look, just remember that your face is part of your identity. Don't give it away without a fight, and maybe monetize it. Have fun.
Thank you so much, and thanks to all of you for joining us today. If you found the session valuable, drop a comment below with your thoughts or questions. Stay informed, stay secure, and let's continue to navigate the digital era together. See you guys next time. Take care.
See you guys next time, and join us next week, in a couple weeks, when we talk about how Google's unveiling of new AI robots with models of Gemini are making the big splash. So looking forward to seeing you guys then.
Excited to see that. Take care.
Oh, gonna be a
Bye.
fun one.